My name's Dr. Cooper Shooten and I'm a honeybee researcher at Southern Cross University, and I'm also a beekeeper, as you can see. I'm passionate about beekeepers because lots of my friends are beekeepers overseas, and I've been working closely with the Australian Centre for International Agricultural Research on programs to improve the productivity, profitability and resilience of these rural beekeepers in the Pacific region, and particularly in Papua New Guinea and Fiji. There's a whole range of different issues that span from honeybee biosecurity and pests and diseases of honeybees, honeybee nutrition, so looking at floral calendars and what's in flower, because that ultimately indicates and determines your management practices as a beekeeper. And there's also lots of challenges regarding pests and sort of the marketing, economics, and also trying to make this an inclusive enterprise as well for women in marginalised groups who don't own land. There's lots of amazing things that beekeeping has to offer in terms of a livelihood opportunity for beekeepers here in Australia and also overseas, but it's important that we understand that just like any other type of livestock, bees require attention to nutrition and pests and diseases and the technologies that are available to make it a sustainable and productive enterprise. So the role of a beekeeper is multiple and many. There's lots of things that you're looking for when you're opening a hive. You're looking at how strong the colony is, whether there's any pests and diseases. You're looking for if they've got pollen, seeing if they've got nectar, seeing how much of it they have, checking whether they need space or whether they need to, they need more space because they're running out, or maybe they need less because it's getting cold and there's not enough food coming in. So as a beekeeper, you're looking out for these things all the time. It's not just about honey. Ultimately, if you don't have any bees, you're not going to produce any honey, you're not going to have any money. That's just the story. That's how it goes. And actually the first part of that equation is trees. No trees, no bees, no honey, no money. But I've actually found the queen bee on this one. So often when you're looking for the queen bee, she'll be in the middle of the hive. We're in the center of the brood cluster, and she's slightly larger than the rest of the other bees. Just got a spot where it's kind of like finding a needle in a haystack. You're actually looking for a movement that's slightly different to the other bees rather than the shape in lots of ways. All the other worker bees will actually move out of her way. We can see her just moving across the frame there, just sticking her head into a cell. And she'll lay up to 2,000 eggs a day. It's more than her own body weight. And lots of people think that the queen is the boss of the hive and that this is a monarchy, but it's not true. It's actually one of the most purest forms of a democracy. These worker bees will determine whether she lives or whether she dies, when it's time to have a new mum and she's not being productive or looking after them well. And they also cast decisions and votes using sounds and noises, bumps and vibrations, but ultimately the biggest one is through dancing. This is the waggle dance, and they'll communicate a distance relative to the sun when they come out of the hive to indicate the location of those flowering resources or whatever else it might be. They might be collecting water if the temperature gets hot. They work together to be able to create the best possible solution. They're always, it's very selfless. If a honeybee gets sick, it doesn't hang around. It's like with coronavirus at the moment. They're not willing to risk everyone else. If they're sick, they leave the hive and they go and isolate themselves. Sometimes they don't come back, but that's just the way that they do for the greater good of the colony. You can actually pick her up. Gently, you can pick up a queen bee by the thorax. So I just got a sting in my finger there, and that's bee venom, and I'm just going to flick that out like that. So that's how you get rid of a bee sting. Yeah, you got to be willing to get stung as a beekeeper. There's no denying that if you buy bees, you will get stung. But ultimately, over time, you get used to it. It starts to hurt less. I'm not thinking about being stung. I'm thinking about how healthy my bees are. I want to make sure they have enough food and they're not sick. So that's more of a priority. I think also when you start to understand livestock systems, and listen to what the bees are saying, then you get stung less. I don't bump the hive around, I don't open them on a cold day, I don't do it when they're hungry, just like me. If I'm not eating and it's a cold day, I get pretty cranky too. So it's just about reading people and reading bees ultimately. So for lots of beekeepers, they don't wear gloves because they probably feel that if they get stung, it's them doing something wrong. they haven't listened to the hive, or they're pushing it too far, but also because it enables you to be much more dexterous. If I want to pick up this queen bee, I'm not going to be able to do it in a very nice way with gloves on. I'm probably going to hurt her, so I don't want to do that. It also means I can clean my hands between hives. That means I've got a bit of a barrier system between hives, because these girls can get sick just like people can. We want to try and reduce that pest and disease sort of interaction between the different hives.